You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
What I do, Uplift crew? FTC. Uplift team stand up!
Hey everyone, and welcome back to FTC Team 18172 tutorial series.
I'm Matthew.
I'm Devin.
And I'm also Matthew. And today we're going to be talking about syntax in Java.
Okay, what is syntax? Syntax in Java is simply put the grammar of the language. This will include naming conventions, brackets, indentation, and position of blocks of code. Syntax error usually shows up with compiler errors. This will prevent the code from running. Syntax is the standard way of typing Java code that all programmers should follow. By having standard conventions and practices, it is easier to look at other code and work with other programmers.
So we're going to be talking about kind of the most common errors of syntax in Java. The first one being naming conventions and misnaming different variables. So in Java, the best practice to name the variables is to always start with a lowercase letter or an underscore. It should be a reasonable length and it should be descriptive name of it, so first name, last name. You should also avoid using Java keywords, for example, this or class, and that kind of prevents if you accidentally put a space, it's going to think you're using that as a Java keyword and it's going to mess it all up. And examples of good variable names include nextnum, and you see how the first letter of the second word is capitalized. That's called camel case, unofficially, and that basically means it's like a camel hump. You start it off with the lowercase, and then any other word that you have after that first word, you capitalize the first letter. So first number, left motor, things like that. Examples of bad variable names include next number with all caps on the next. Not only is it bad practice to have a bunch of capital letters like that right next to each other, but also you shouldn't start with a capital letter. And the number, the N in number should be capitalized because it's the second word. Another bad example would be I like this variable. While they did use camel case in I like this, that works, you shouldn't really name a variable I like this variable because it's not descriptive of the actual variable, it's just kind of a subjective thing you're saying about it.
Okay, so the next important syntax is brackets in Java. So in a Java program, curly brackets are used to enclose meaningful units of code, such as classes, methods, loops, if statements, etc. And as you can see in the code that I put in the PowerPoint, all all the things highlighted in red are the curly brackets. And you can see that the first curly bracket is used on the class and the second curly bracket is used for the method.
So another part of Java syntax that's commonly missed or mistaken is the method header terminology. So I have a method header here that shows what kind of like the skeleton of a method would look like. I have public, static, void, print name, int number, and then I have the braces. And so I'm just going to kind of go through what the parts of the header mean. So the first is it'll be public or private, or sometimes you'll see protected. And this is basically like the access of it. So if it's public, then that means it's usable in other classes. Private, then it's not. Static, you'll either see static there or just nothing in place of static, and that basically means that the method doesn't involve objects at all. If it doesn't say static, then it does involve objects. The next thing is void, which means this is kind of where you put what's being returned, the type of something being returned. And if it's void, then that means nothing is returned. If it's int, then it's an integer. If it's a double, it's double. The next thing is obviously the name of the method, and in this case we called it print name. And then in those parentheses after print name, that's where you put the parameters. So in this case it's int number. So that's what's being passed through when you call the method. So if you said print name and then you put parentheses 2, then when you run this method, 2 will be that number and it'll be used throughout the method.
Thanks for watching. Come again soon.
If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below and we'll try and answer them as quick as possible.
And we also have linked all of our social media accounts in the description below. And thanks for watching.